Hello, everyone. My name is Alan DeLeon, and these are my cultural wealth and capital assets. First thing I want to point out is the red, blue, and yellow I used for this assignment, and that's simply just to pay homage to my Filipino background. You may also notice the Filipino star in the background. You'll see that on the flag, and it's just a big symbol of our Filipino nationalism. As I mentioned, my family here. I grew up with my mom, my brother, sister, and aunt. My parents were separated in my childhood, so my aunt was a huge asset for me as my mom worked a lot. She was kind of the person who was able to provide a lot of stability in the household. But even outside of my house, I had a community of other Filipino Americans that I grew up with. And it was kind of like that thing where we were not necessarily blood related, but we considered each other to be family. So that was really helpful, I think, looking back and forming my identity as a youth. Linguistically, I speak English, obviously, but I also understand very little Tagalog. Tagalog is the national language of the Philippines. Right after graduating high school, I spent about 7 months out there and I picked up on the language, but didn't practice it enough to become fluent. But according to the article we also read by Yasso, we learned the significance of things like body language and cadence and tempo. A lot of that may come culturally in our upbringing, but for me, it actually came through, um, I guess, being raised by my mom, who was a serial entrepreneur. I was always around these business presentations and meetings. And so I picked up on things like cadence, like tempo. I didn't realize what separated a good speaker from a not so good speaker, their body language. All those things played a big factor, and I think formed me um, just to, in the ways I communicate today. My aspirational assets, I was raised with high expectations to succeed academically. So whenever I was coming up on graduating high school, I had all the confidence I needed to succeed academically. Even whenever I was indecisive in my choice of careers, it was never a matter of would I be able to do it, but just figuring out what I wanted to do. And so I owe a lot of that to my family for that support. Speaking of support, I mentioned my family, but at this point, when it comes to my social assets, I definitely think my church has a tremendous role in just figuring out who I was socially, and then also knowing that I had their support. I mentioned my mom working a lot. So in my teenage years, my church played a very pivotal role in forming me and my values and my virtues and just trying to, you know, really just helped me discover who I was, and I'm really grateful for that. My navigational assets. So I've mentioned my mom a couple times here, but I want to mention her one more time. She, I grew up, and she always asked questions. She always asked for help, and I think I picked up on that unknowingly because anytime I need something, I just find it natural to go find somebody who can answer my question and I go ask them, find somebody who can help me out and I'll go ask them. I know that might be intimidating and might be challenging to do that, but for me it kind of became natural, and I think even became a sign of like strength and humility because not everyone no one knows all the answers. No one gets through life doing things by themselves, so just being able to ask people for help is a good thing. And lastly, my resistance assets. So I mentioned my church background, and I think that's really where I come to find my assets here for when it comes to resistance. I was just formed that every human life was born with a spark of divinity, if you will, and so it's our responsibility to fight for all those to uphold the dignity of every human person, especially for those whose voice is not heard and those who live life on the margins. It's my responsibility to fight for all those voices. So with that, I'm pleased to be able to share this with you guys, and I look forward to learning about your cultural wealth and capital assets.